The war ended without warning. One moment the sky was filled with fire. The next, there was only silence. From high orbit, Earth looked broken. Thick smoke covered the continents. Fires burned where cities once stood. The oceans near the coasts glowed red from heat and falling debris. Whole regions had gone dark, their power grids destroyed, their people gone. 3 billion humans were dead. The alien fleet hovered above the planet, vast and cold. Their ships blocked the stars. They had come expecting an easy conquest. Earth had resisted longer than expected, but in the end, numbers and power had won. Or so they believed. On the surface, the screams had stopped. No radio calls, no fighter jets, no missiles rising to meet the invaders. Only broken cities and quiet ruins remained. The aliens called it victory. Deep inside a mountain bunker, one of the last human command centers still functioned. The air was heavy with smoke and dust. The walls shook from distant impacts. Inside, a small group of survivors stared at glowing screens. General Marcus Hale stood in the center of the room. His uniform was torn, and his face was lined with exhaustion. He had not slept in 3 days. "Status," he said quietly. A young officer swallowed before speaking. "Global population estimate? 3 billion confirmed dead. Possibly more." No one spoke after that. Another officer looked up from her station. "Alien ground forces have stopped advancing. They're holding position." Hale frowned. "Why would they stop?" She shook her head. "We don't know." Above them, in orbit, the aliens were also confused. One of their landing armies had gone silent. No distress call, no battle signals, just nothing. The alien commander watched the tactical display. "Explain," it demanded. The technician hesitated. "The ground unit on the eastern continent, it vanished." "Destroyed?" asked the commander. "No weapons fire detected, no explosions. They simply stopped transmitting." The commander narrowed his eyes. That was not possible. Even total destruction left energy traces. This left nothing. Then another signal disappeared, and another. Back on Earth, the ground began to tremble. At first, it felt like distant thunder. The survivors in the bunker looked around as dust fell from the ceiling. "Earthquake?" someone asked. A scientist at the back of the room checked her instruments. Her face went pale. "No, this isn't tectonic movement." "Then what is it?" Hale asked. She hesitated. "It's coming from everywhere, deep, far deeper than any human drilling has ever reached." The tremors grew stronger. Across the planet, cracks appeared in the ground. Roads split apart. Ruined buildings collapsed into widening holes. From the alien landing zones, strange sounds echoed, low, deep, and rhythmic, like a heartbeat. The alien ground troops turned their weapons toward the ground, confused and uneasy. Then the earth opened. Something massive moved beneath the surface. Stone and soil were pushed aside as if they were nothing. A shape began to rise, huge, dark, and alive. Alien weapons fired. The beams struck the surface of the thing and vanished, absorbed without effect. The creature continued to rise. It was not flesh, it was not metal. It looked like both, fused together. Glowing lines of energy ran across its body like veins. Its eyes burned with a cold, ancient light. The aliens retreated. The creature lifted one massive limb and brought it down. The ground force disappeared. No explosion, no fire. They were simply gone. In orbit, alarms rang through the alien fleet. "Multiple ground units lost," a voice reported. "Cause unknown." The commander stared at the screen as images flickered in and out. "What is that thing?"
Sensors tried to lock on, but failed. The readings made no sense. The creature's energy matched the planet itself. On Earth, the tremors spread, not just in one place, but everywhere. Under oceans, under deserts, under mountains, things began to wake. In the human bunker, the scientist whispered, "These readings, they're impossible." "What are you seeing?" Hale asked. She turned the screen toward him. Energy signatures activating across the entire planet, ancient systems, older than humanity. "How old?" someone asked. She swallowed. "Older than life we know it." The room went silent. Above them, the alien fleet repositioned, weapons charged. They fired toward the surface, aiming at the rising shapes. The beams struck the planet, and Earth answered. The energy did not come from weapons or machines. It came from the planet itself. A wave of force surged upward, ripping through the atmosphere. One alien ship lost power instantly and drifted out of formation. Then another. The commander shouted orders, but fear had already spread. "This world is not normal," an officer said. Below, the creatures continued to rise. One emerged from the sea, towering over the waves. Another pushed through a mountain range, stone breaking away like dust. In the bunker, Hale watched the feeds in disbelief. "What are they?" he asked quietly. The scientist shook her head. "I don't know, but I think they were always here." The tremors slowed. The monsters stood still, facing the sky, waiting. The alien commander finally understood. This planet had not surrendered. It had been holding back. 3 billion deaths had crossed a line, a limit set long before humans ever existed. Earth had reached its breaking point, and now it was fighting back. The silence after the screams was over. Something far worse had begun.
The monsters did not move. Across the ruined world they stood like silent gods, facing the sky. Smoke drifted around their massive forms. Fires burned at their feet, but they did not react. They were not hunting, they were waiting. In orbit, the alien fleet pulled back. Ships shifted position, keeping distance from the surface. Weapons stayed charged, but no one fired. Fear had replaced confidence. On Earth, inside the mountain bunker, the human survivors watched in stunned silence. Screens showed the giant beings from different angles. Every camera struggled to stay focused, as if the creatures bent reality around them. General Marcus Hale broke the silence. "If those things wanted us dead, we'd already be gone." No one argued. Dr. Elena Cross, the lead planetary scientist, stood near a locked terminal at the back of the room. Her hands were shaking, not from fear, but from realization. "I think I know what they are," she said quietly. Everyone turned to her. She took a deep breath and typed a long code into the terminal. The screen flickered, then displayed files marked with warning symbols and dates older than any modern nation. "These records were sealed before governments as we know them," she said, "hidden inside global research archives. Most of it was labeled as myth or failed theory." Hale stepped closer. "What do the files say?" "They say Earth is not just a planet, it is a system." She brought up an image, layers beneath the crust, far deeper than science had ever mapped. Structures appeared inside the planet, massive and artificial. Gasps filled the room. "This is impossible," an officer said. "We would have detected this." "No," Elena replied, "not if it didn't want to be detected." She changed the display. Ancient symbols appeared, mixed with early human languages. "These systems were placed here long before humans existed," she continued. "Earth was designed as a fortress world." Silence returned. "A trap," said Hale slowly. Elena nodded. "Yes, a trap for something far worse than us."
According to the files, Earth was created by an unknown ancient civilization. They had fought a war against star-faring destroyers, species that consumed worlds and moved on. The solution was not to fight them directly. The solution was deception. Earth was built to look like a normal life-bearing planet, rich in resources, full of growing civilizations, a perfect target. Life was allowed to evolve freely. But deep beneath the surface, defense systems slept. Not machines alone, but living constructs, guardians, beings tied directly to the planet's core, powered by its energy. They would only wake under one condition. If life on Earth faced near total extinction, the system would activate. Someone whispered, 3 billion dead. That was the trigger, Elena confirmed. Hale clenched his fists. So we were never meant to control this world. No, she said softly. We were meant to survive on it. That's all. In orbit, the alien commanders were making the same discovery, too late. Their scientists scanned the monsters again and again. Every reading returned the same answer. The creatures were not separate entities. They were extensions of the planet itself. Attacking them is the same as attacking Earth itself, an alien analyst said. The commander's voice was tense. Then why are we still alive? Below, one of the guardians moved for the first time. It turned its head. Not toward the aliens, toward a human city. The bunker screen zoomed in as the massive being stepped forward. Each movement sent shockwaves through the ground. It approached the ruins slowly, carefully. Human survivors ran in fear. Then the guardian stopped. It lowered itself, placing a massive hand on the broken ground. Energy flowed from it into the ruins. Fires died. Toxic smoke faded. Radiation levels dropped. It was repairing the land. Elena's voice shook. It's healing the planet. Hale stared. What about the people? The Guardian did not revive the dead, but it cleared paths. It stabilized damaged structures. It made the land safer for survivors. Not saving humanity, protecting the environment that allowed humanity to exist. High above, the alien fleet watched the same event. This world is not fighting for its inhabitants, the commander realized. It is fighting for itself. And yet the monsters had not attacked humans. That mattered. Back in the bunker, alarms suddenly sounded. "Elena," an officer shouted, "we're getting a signal from inside the planet." A deep, slow transmission filled the room. Not words, but meaning. Data flowed in patterns too complex for language. Elena's eyes widened as she decoded it. "It's a status report," she whispered. "The system is evaluating humanity." "Evaluating us for what?" Hale asked. She looked at him. "Compatibility." Outside, more guardians rose, but they did not move toward human shelters. They formed a defensive ring around the planet's most damaged regions. The alien fleet made a decision. They fired again. This time, the response was immediate. The monsters turned their gaze to the sky. Energy surged across their bodies, flowing into the planet itself. The ground glowed. The oceans pulsed. Earth's magnetic field flared violently. One alien ship lost control and shattered as if crushed by invisible hands. Another went dark. Panic spread through the fleet. "This world is alive," an alien officer said. "No," the commander replied. "It is awake." Back on Earth, Hale understood the truth fully. Humanity had never owned Earth. It had been living on a sleeping weapon. And now that weapon was deciding whether humanity deserved to remain. The truth humanity never knew was simple and terrifying. Earth was not their shield. Earth was their judge. And the trial had just begun.
The sky burned. From orbit to ground, Earth glowed with strange light. Blue, red, and white energy flowed across the planet like veins waking under skin. Storms formed where there were no clouds. The air itself felt heavy, charged with power. The Guardians moved. Across the world, the monsters that had risen from the depths began to walk. One stepped forward from a shattered mountain range. Each step crushed stone into dust. Rivers changed direction as the ground shifted under its weight. Its body looked like living rock, but glowing lines pulsed across its surface like a heartbeat. Another rose from the ocean. Water exploded into the air as the massive shape emerged. Waves taller than skyscrapers rolled outward. Ships, human and alien alike, were thrown aside like toys. The creature stood in the sea, its lower body hidden beneath the waves, its upper form reaching into the clouds. Alien soldiers watched in fear. These were not beasts acting on instinct. Their movements were calm, controlled, purposeful. The aliens opened fire. Energy beams filled the sky. Missiles struck the monsters from every direction. The attacks should have destroyed continents. They did nothing. The energy vanished into the creatures' bodies, flowing harmlessly into the planet below. Some beams even bent away, as if the world itself refused to be harmed. The Guardians did not roar. They did not rush. They responded. One raised an arm toward the alien forces. The ground beneath the invaders collapsed instantly. Entire landing armies disappeared into deep cracks, swallowed without fire or sound. Another Guardian struck the air itself. A shockwave raced outward. Alien ships in low orbit lost power and fell from the sky, burning as they crashed into the sea. In the human bunker, General Marcus Hale and his team watched in stunned silence. "This isn't a battle," someone whispered. "It's an execution." Hale said nothing. He could not look away. On the surface, human survivors hid among ruins, watching the impossible unfold. Fear mixed with awe as the monsters passed near them. But the Guardians did not attack humans. They stepped around shelters. They avoided refugee paths. Some even paused, as if observing the fragile beings below. A mother held her child close as a massive shadow passed over them. She waited for death. It never came. The monster moved on. High above, the alien fleet tried to regroup. Their command ships issued rapid orders. Fighters launched. Heavy weapons charged. "We must destroy the core, target the planet itself," the alien commander shouted. The fleet focused fire on Earth. Beams and warheads struck the surface in massive waves. Entire regions vanished under light and fire. Earth answered. The planet's magnetic field flared violently. Space twisted. Energy surged upward from the core. A wave of force tore through the alien formation. Ships shattered. Some were crushed inward as if squeezed by invisible hands. Others lost power and drifted, dead in space. The Guardians turned their gaze toward orbit. They raised their arms together. The air screamed. A column of energy erupted from the planet, piercing the sky. It struck the largest alien command ship directly. There was no explosion. The ship simply vanished. Panic spread through the fleet. "This world cannot be conquered," an alien officer cried. The commander's voice shook. "Retreat is no longer an option." On Earth, Dr. Elena Cross watched the data stream scroll across her screen. "They're coordinating, not just with each other, with the planet." "What do you mean?" Hale asked. "The Guardians aren't separate units. They're nodes. Earth is the mind." The monsters were not defending territory. They were removing a threat.
One guardian reached into the ocean. The sea pulled back as if afraid. From the depths, alien underwater bases were crushed and torn apart, dragged into darkness. Another struck a mountain range where an alien weapon had been hidden. The mountain collapsed, burying the base forever. Every strike was precise, no wasted movement, no unnecessary destruction. The aliens realized something far too late. The Guardians were not weapons of rage, they were weapons of control. On the ground, human survivors began to understand. These monsters were not here to replace humanity. They were here because humanity had almost been erased. A line had been crossed. 3 billion lives had been the price. In orbit, the remaining alien ships fled. Some tried to escape through faster-than-light jumps. Space bent and tore around them. Most never made it out. Only a few ships managed to break free. They carried a warning back into the galaxy. Do not touch this world. Back on Earth, the Guardians slowed. One by one, they stopped moving. Some returned to their original positions. Others stood still, watching the sky until the last enemy ship vanished. The planet's glow faded. The storms weakened. The air grew calm. The monsters began to sink back into the ground, into the oceans, into the mountains from which they had risen. But not all of them. One guardian remained. It stood near the largest surviving human settlement, silent and unmoving. Its presence was heavy, like a mountain given shape. General Hale watched it through satellite feeds. "It's still here," he said. Elena nodded slowly. "Yes. Why?" She looked at the screen, at the glowing lines along the creature's body. "I think," she said, "it's waiting to see what we do next." The monsters had risen. The invaders were gone, but Earth's judgment was not yet finished. Humanity had survived the storm. Now it had to face the silence that followed, and the question that came with it. Were they still worthy of this world?
The world was quiet again. Too quiet. After the battle, the sky cleared, the fires burned low, the oceans calmed. The Guardians had stopped moving. Most of them had returned to the depths of the planet, vanishing into stone and water as if they had never existed. But one remained. It stood near the largest human survivor zone, towering over broken cities and refugee camps. It did not attack. It did not speak. It simply watched. Its presence was impossible to ignore. Across the world, humans came out of hiding. They looked at the ruins of their homes, at the empty streets, at the names of the dead written on broken walls. 3 billion voices were gone. In the mountain bunker, General Marcus Hale sat at the head of a long table. Around him were scientists, military officers, and civilian leaders, what remained of humanity's command. "We are alive," Hale said, "because Earth chose to fight." A woman across the table shook her head. "Or because it hasn't decided to kill us yet." No one argued with that. Dr. Elena Cross stood and activated the main screen. "The Guardians have entered a passive state," she said. "All planetary systems are stable." "For now," someone muttered. Elena nodded. "Yes, for now." She brought up data streams from satellites and deep-core sensors. "The system is still active. Earth is watching us." Hale leaned forward. "Watching us for what?" "For behavior," Elena replied. "The files were clear. The Guardians protect the planet, not a species." "So if we become a threat," Hale began. "They will respond," Elena finished. Outside the bunker, people argued, prayed, and cried. Some worshipped the guardian as a god, others feared it as a silent executioner. A group of soldiers approached the creature with weapons raised. It did nothing. Their commander ordered them to stand down. "We are not shooting the thing that saved us," he said. News spread fast. The monster had spared humans. That fact mattered. In the bunker, a new argument began. "We should shut it down," a political leader said. "If Earth is a weapon, then we cannot allow it to decide our fate." "And how do you plan to do that?" an engineer asked. "You saw what it did to the aliens." Another voice spoke up. "What if it decides we're next?" Silence followed. Elena took a breath. "The system hasn't acted against us because we haven't crossed the line." "What line?" Hale asked. "Planetary destruction, total ecological collapse, the kind of damage the aliens caused." A young officer laughed bitterly. "We've been hurting Earth for centuries." "Yes," Elena agreed, "but never like this, never extinction level." Hale stood. "So what's our choice?" Elena looked at him. "We either change or we become the next threat." The guardian near the city moved. Everyone froze. It took a single step forward, then stopped. The ground trembled lightly. No damage, no aggression, just a reminder. In the days that followed, humanity struggled with itself. Factories lay in ruins, militaries were shattered, space fleets were gone. For the first time in history, humans could not dominate their world. They had to live within it. Hale addressed the survivors through a global broadcast. His face was tired, his voice calm. "We almost lost everything," he said, "not just to the invaders, but to ourselves." He paused. "Earth defended us, not because we deserved it, but because we were part of it." Some listened, some did not. There were protests, demands to rebuild weapons, calls to hunt the guardians and learn their secrets. And then came the warning. A small human weapons test was conducted in a remote desert, unauthorized, secret. The explosion never finished. The energy vanished into the ground. Moments later, a guardian appeared. It did not attack the base. It erased it. The land flattened, the structures vanished, the people survived, but their machines were gone. The message was clear. Do not cross the line. Fear spread faster than hope. In the bunker, Hale slammed his fist on the table. "That was a warning shot." Elena nodded. "Yes, and a mercy." "Then we make a choice, right now," Hale said. He looked around the room. "We stop fighting our own planet." One by one, leaders agreed. Emergency laws were passed, heavy weapons were banned, planet-damaging technology was destroyed. Rebuilding focused on healing, not conquest. The guardian near the city did not move again. Weeks passed. Slowly, Earth responded. Plants grew in scorched land, water cleared, the air became cleaner. The guardian stepped back, its glow fading slightly. Elena watched the data and smiled for the first time in weeks. "It's accepting us." Hale exhaled. "We've been judged." "And?" he asked. She looked at the screen showing the quiet giant. "We passed," she said. But the choice had changed humanity forever. They were no longer masters of Earth. They were guests. And somewhere deep within the planet, ancient systems remained awake, watching, waiting, ready. Humanity had survived the war. Now it had to survive itself. The warning was not the end. It was only a pause. Far beyond Earth's orbit, the surviving alien ships regrouped. They were damaged, frightened, and furious. Never in their long history had a world fought back like this. Earth was supposed to be weak. Instead, it had become a nightmare. Inside the alien command ship, the commander listened as reports came in. Losses were extreme. Entire fleets were gone. Ground armies had vanished without trace. But the planet still lived. And as long as it lives, the commander said coldly, we have failed. An officer spoke carefully. Direct assault is impossible. The planetary entities are too powerful. Then we do not fight the entities. We kill the world. The plan was simple and terrible. They would not attack the surface. They would crack the planet. Deep space weapons were activated, devices designed to tear apart planetary cores. The aliens had used them only once before. No world had survived. Back on Earth, Dr. Elena Cross saw the signs first. Her screens filled with alarms, gravity fluctuations, core pressure spikes, space-time distortions far beyond orbit. They're preparing something, she said. General Marcus Hale stood beside her. Can we stop it? Elena shook her head slowly. Not with weapons. Outside, the Guardian near the city reacted. For the first time since the battle, it turned its full body toward the sky. Across the planet, deep within oceans and mountains, the others began to wake again. The ground trembled, not violently, but steadily, like a giant taking a breath. In orbit, the alien fleet fired. The weapon did not look like a beam or missile. It was invisible. Space bent inward toward Earth. The planet's core screamed under pressure. On the surface, people felt it instantly. Gravity shifted. Buildings groaned. The sky darkened as if the sun had dimmed. Elena's voice was tight. They're targeting the core. If this continues, Earth will break. Hale clenched his jaw. Then this is it. No, Elena said. This is the final judgment. The Guardians rose fully. Every remaining one emerged at the same time. From land, sea, and stone, they stood together. Not scattered, not separate, united. Energy flowed between them, forming a network across the planet. Lines of light connected oceans to mountains, continents to continents. Earth itself glowed. The aliens fired again. The Guardians responded. The planet's magnetic field expanded violently, forming a shield that wrapped around Earth like a living shell. The alien weapon struck it and stopped. The force turned inward. The alien fleet was caught in its own attack. Ships twisted, hulls tore apart, crews were crushed as space collapsed around them. Still, the commander ordered one final strike. Overload everything, it screamed. If we die, we take the world with us. That was the moment Earth decided. Deep inside the planet, something ancient and vast awakened for the first time in billions of years. The Guardians lifted their arms. The oceans rose, not as waves, but as pillars. Mountains cracked, releasing pure energy. The planet's core sent a pulse outward, faster than light. The alien fleet did not explode, it unraveled. Ships broke apart at the atomic level. Matter lost form. The fleet was erased. Silence followed. In orbit, there was nothing left. No enemy, no debris, just empty space. On Earth, the energy faded. The shield collapsed gently. The glow dimmed. The Guardians stood still. Then, one by one, they lowered themselves. Some returned to the sea.
Others sank into stone, a few dissolved into light, becoming part of the air and soil. The guardian near the city remained. Human survivors watched from rooftops and open ground. No one spoke. The giant turned slowly, scanning the land. It looked at ruined cities, burned forests, poisoned rivers. It raised one arm. People screamed, thinking it was the end. Instead, the ground healed. Cracks closed, toxic land cleared, water flowed clean again. The planet began to repair itself. Not fully, not perfectly, but enough. In the bunker, Elena collapsed into a chair, her tears in her eyes. "It chose itself," she whispered. Hale nodded, "and it chose to let us stay." The guardian lowered its arm and stepped back. Then, slowly, it sank into the earth. The tremors stopped. The sky cleared. Earth was quiet. The final judgment had been made. Humanity had not been erased, but the message was burned into the planet itself. Earth would never allow itself to be threatened again, and if humanity ever forgot that truth, the monsters would rise again.
Years passed. The scars of the war remained, but Earth lived. Cities were smaller now, quieter, built with care instead of pride. Towers no longer reached for the sky without reason. Roads followed the land instead of cutting through it. Humanity had changed. They no longer called themselves the rulers of Earth. They called themselves its children. General Marcus Hale stood on a hill overlooking a rebuilt settlement. The buildings were simple, made from natural materials and old ruins. Green plants covered the rooftops. Clean water flowed through open channels. Dr. Elena Cross stood beside him. "Hard to believe," Hale said, "that we once thought power meant control." Elena nodded. "Now we know it means restraint." Deep beneath them, ancient systems remained awake, but quiet, watching, waiting. The guardians had not been seen since the final judgment. Some feared they would return. Others found comfort in knowing they were there. Humanity lived differently now. Factories worked with limits. Weapons were rare and tightly controlled. Space travel returned slowly, carefully. Every launch was measured, every experiment tested against one rule: do no harm to Earth. Children were taught the truth from a young age, not myths, not legends, facts. Earth was alive. Earth could fight, and Earth had mercy once. Beyond the planet, the galaxy whispered. The few alien survivors who escaped spread the story in fear. They spoke of a world that watched, a planet that waited, a species protected not by fleets, but by the ground beneath their feet. Star maps changed, trade routes shifted. Explorers avoided one blue world marked with a single warning: do not touch. Years later, humanity returned to the stars, not as conquerors, as observers. A small human ship entered a distant system where two alien species were locked in war. The humans did not bring weapons. They brought aid, knowledge, and warnings. One alien asked them, "Why do you limit yourselves? You have power." The human captain answered simply, "Because we know what real power looks like." On Earth, the planet responded. Forests spread where deserts had been. Oceans healed. Species once thought lost returned slowly. Dr. Elena Cross spent her last years studying Earth, not as an object, but as a partner. Her last report was short.
Earth does not demand worship, it demands respect. When she passed, the ground above her grave bloomed with life. General Hale lived long enough to see something no human had ever seen before: a guardian. It rose only partially, far from any city. It did not glow with rage, it stood calm, peaceful. Hale approached as close as he dared. It did not move. For a moment he felt something, not a voice, not words, but understanding. Humanity had been tested. Humanity had learned. The guardian sank back into the earth. Hale smiled and turned away. Across the galaxy, ancient civilizations took notice. Sensors detected strange energy signatures from Earth, stable, controlled, restrained. A council of old species met in secret. "This world is no longer a trap," one said. "It is worse," another replied. "It is a warning." They marked humanity's species profile with a new name: planet-bound guardians. A species that survived not by dominating, but by knowing when to stop. Back on Earth, children gathered in classrooms and heard the story of the war, not as a tale of glory, but of loss. 3 billion names were remembered. They were the price. At night, people looked up at the stars without fear. They knew one truth above all others: if something came for them again, Earth would rise. But this time, humanity would rise with it. Not as soldiers, not as masters, but as the species that Earth chose to protect. Humanity first, Earth forever. And in the deep silence beneath the world, the monsters slept, not as weapons, but as guardians of a species finally worthy of its home.